So good afternoon, everyone, and thank you so much for joining us for the Verge final presentations. This year, we are doing this in a bit different of circumstances. However, it's reflective of the experience our students had this summer, which is working virtually. I don't know all of you, so it looks like we have some guests from outside. So my name is Jen Murphy, and I'm the director of the Connecticut Center for Entrepreneurship and Innovation at UConn. And CCEI partners with the CTSBDC, so the Small Business Development Center, to launch and run this Verge Consulting program. So this is our 5th cohort of the program that launched this summer. And so every fall we do a concluding presentation and allow our students to share their experiences, what they learned, reflect on some of the projects they worked on, and then also to share some takeaways about the program. And we always invite students that might be interested in joining the Verge Consulting program for the next cohort to listen in and just ask some questions and really engage in this potential opportunity. So I do just want to say a couple of small intro to all of this, and saying that this year was incredibly challenging, I would say, for our students and for us running a program in a virtual environment. They, however, took the challenge and did a fantastic job. We hired 8 Verge consultants this summer. We usually have 5. So we were able to take on more students, and that meant more projects. And however, I think they've completely exceeded our expectations and the number of startups that they supported this summer. So I think they're up to, was it 25 or 26 startups that they worked with over the summer. And to give you a perspective, it's typically around 9 to 12 that we support every summer. So I'm not sure if it was the virtual environment, the ability not to have to drive and do in-person meetings, it saved their time, but they really dove right in and did some great work this summer. So I'm incredibly proud of the work they did and their ability to be flexible and to adapt to the situation, and they did so very well. I do want to introduce Joe Ercolanos, the director of the CTSBDC, who's my partner in crime in this program and a very big supporter. And Joe's team is the reason why we're able to host this program and run this program as we do every year. So, Joe.
Thank you, Jen. And yeah, it's really, truly a partnership, because we can't do this without CCEI, and we're able to bring these great clients to the table for students to work with and get some great experience. So it's been working really well. And I guess every year we keep hearing this is the best group of students yet. So we'll see how you did, and we'll hear from a couple of our advisors in a minute. I just like to allow them to say a couple of comments as well. But I want to start by saying thank you to the students again for their great work, their great effort. It really is important to our clients to have students of your experience and caliber working on projects with them. It means a lot to them to have that kind of access. And it means a lot to our state because healthy businesses are really going to be an important factor for healthy communities going forward. Being able to support businesses that create and sustain jobs in our state is truly a definite priority, and it's also a matter of, quite honestly, life and death, not just for some individuals who need to rely on income and the ability to provide for their families, but also for the communities in which they reside. So I don't want to overplay it, but it is really important, and we really do appreciate your effort. So if you don't mind, I'd like to just ask Greg Lewis to say a few words, and then Greg, maybe you can turn it over to Denise Whitford to say a few words, but we'll keep it short just to express from the advisor's perspective their feelings about working with the team, as well as what they think their clients took away from it. So Greg?
All right, well, thanks very much, Joe. First of all, thanks to the interns. It was a remarkable summer, and I mean that quite genuinely. This is the 5th year we've done this, and I can say quite honestly, I've never gotten the kinds of responses from the participating clients that we've gotten this year. They are ecstatic about the work that was done. It's remarkable is the word to use. So we cannot thank you enough. You've helped these companies, in many cases, path forward. I mean, it may be the difference between life and death for their companies. So your participation, your help with helping them assess where those companies can go has been extraordinary. So in fact, I find myself now thinking, normally I encourage the interns to figure out how they want to approach the program. I mean, you're adults, you guys have had a significant amount of business experience already. I tend to want you to go ahead and figure out how you want to plan your work process. But after this year, I may have to just take what you guys have done and apply it in future years. I'll have to consider that, because again, it was quite extraordinary. So thank you very much, and I'll turn it over to Denise.
Thanks, Greg. I appreciate that. And I would echo what Greg said too about this being one of those years that's really unprecedented and extraordinary. And I wanted to say that we try to duplicate real life scenarios. And again, many of you have, or all of you have, some kind of work experience, but putting you into situations this summer where you were having to choose and prioritize, meet all of the needs and demands. And even in the one scenario where the customer or the client rather was not 100% satisfied, you immediately came back to it, which demonstrates that you had a tremendous amount of compassion and depth and breadth and scope of the scenario that we're working in, but also the scope of their project. You were extraordinarily responsive and professional, and I applaud you for that. I just want to say that it was so nice to get to meet such a dynamic, upbeat group of professionals, and it gives me goosebumps to think that pretty soon we're going to be out there and be peers together, as we are now within the university. But I can't wait to see your success and your trajectory, where you take these skills and knowledge and where you go with that. It was a privilege to work with you, and by all means, I hope that we can stay in touch even after your UConn career is over and you launch a new pathway in the rest of your career. So thank you again. I just want to conclude by saying every single one of my clients walked away from this project and walked back into our lives here at the SBDC with a solid foundation and tools and resources that we can build upon. So I think we accomplished our goals, and I'm so thrilled that you were here with us. Thank you for all you did.
Great.
Thank you, Jen or Joe. Was there anyone else that wanted to go?
No, I think you are all set to get started.
Okay. So
Awesome.
my name is Jazdeep Singh, and I'm proudly the first one to speak for Verge 2020. And our team was really an interesting team in that we had 4 MS BAPM students, so we had 4 more on the analytics side and 4 full-time MBAs, each of the MBAs coming from a variety of different backgrounds. So we had Achit, Sai, Bagisha, and they were the MS BAPM students. And then we had Ishta, Jingden, myself, Raghav, and Mickey as the MBAs. And did I miss anyone? Want to make sure.
No.
So each of us kind of came into this, and so the projects kind of started very, very slowly. We weren't quite sure how this was all going to work. The first week was slow. Second week, we had about 6 to 8 companies. By around week 4 or so, we had 28 companies. And then we had a few drop out, a few weren't ready to progress, and that was, I think, what Denise was referring to. But overall, the 8 consultants worked with over 25 companies. Even the ones that we didn't complete deliverables with, we were still meeting with. We still had research to do. 50% of the companies we worked with were owned by females and or racial ethnic minorities, basically underrepresented groups in the entrepreneurship field, which was kind of an amazing thing. And also, there weren't too many that were COVID related or COVID caused, meaning that these were business ventures and projects that people had wanted to do with passion for a long period of time. It wasn't, I think necessity can be the mother of invention, but also I think passion and drive can really keep a company moving through hard times. I will say for some of the companies, the pandemic lockdown kind of supported them with some time to really think and try to improve some of their business strategies and programs. So the sectors that we worked with were as widespread as biotech, medical devices, education, mining, retail. So each one, when Greg and Jen asked us for the hours we spent per week, we didn't quite know how to do that because it sometimes took 2 hours just to get ready to even talk to a client because we had no idea of mining. I had no idea what mining was about. I mean, I do, but not to the level of detail that I needed in order to support that company. So there was a lot of internal research that needed to be done, a lot of conversations amongst the consultants. And you're going to hear about how we organized that in the coming up because we were 100% remote. We did have one unsanctioned, socially distant get together over the summer just so we could actually meet one another and hear each other's voices. But other than that, all clients, all meetings with our mentors, all communication was through Google Chats, Zoom, or email, which made for very interesting scheduling as well as client meetings. So one of the biggest, we kind of took today's presentation and broke them into the some key areas that the consultants ran into or were surprised by as they went through the journey. I think that regardless of which company you worked with or how many projects you were on, some of these stayed the same. And so what we really wanted to focus on was what it was like to be a Verge consultant in 2020. And one of them was financial analysis. So there was a lot of financial analysis being done due to the fact that loans were being offered to businesses at lower rates. There was one company that had a business loan with the terms that I had never heard of before in my life. It was almost better than the terms I had on my house. So when companies come in with those kinds of debts and liabilities, and also very different types of assets, we really had to work together to come together to give them some tools to organize their information. Some had multiple Excel sheets, some had pen and paper, some had really not thought it through. And so using some of the tools from the SBDC, as well as online tools, as well as tools that we had from our prior classes, we gave them structures for them to start to plan and move forward with their finances. Some of them actually got more detailed, looking at the variable and fixed costs for new and existing products. Some were pre-product, some were even pre-MVP. So trying to help them understand where their supply costs were going to come, where their variable costs were going to come. One company, we helped them actually set the price and based on market research, we actually used their financial data to determine what would be a high, low, or best case, worst case scenario for price, what the contribution margin would be, and what that would mean for revenues and potential hires in years 2 and 3. We also used internal financials to really look at their company's viability. We did have to have some conversations with companies, and that'll be in another slide, but we weren't sure they had a company. And we would call Greg sort of panicked and say, I don't know what to tell this client because I don't think that in 2 years they're going to have enough money because they're going to be losing so much based on these financials that they gave. And even with their rosy revenue numbers, they just don't have it. And so having those kind of conversations but with the data to support it became really important. And I think one of the examples that came up was exactly that, is a company in medical devices. It's a sort of a serial entrepreneur, consultant, and very, very bright individual, very, very talented team. But what we found was that they were spread in so many different directions, and they were almost sacrificing the move forward in the name of perfection. And so I think seeing the financial data in front of the team led them to say, we have to move. We can't just stay where we are. We have to take the information we have and start to move forward. Otherwise, we could lose the opportunity to get this device out onto the market. And so it was really interesting having to, we took cost accounting in the spring, but I really didn't understand it until I really had to use it and really dig in. And thankfully, YouTube and some of our colleagues and peers were able to answer the phone calls at 11 o'clock at night to explain some of the conversation we needed to have. And I think overall, Verge was a surprise to me in that I expected to meet a lot of companies. I expected to I'd been doing some consulting before, but I did not expect the depth and variety that we were able to cover in 10 weeks. Some companies we got with only 3 weeks left in the program, and we still were able to dig very deep and very detailed and produce a deliverable that we hope was helpful to the program. Next, we're going to be moving on to business decision making, and I believe Mickey and Achit are going to be speaking.
Thanks, Jazdeep. So I would like to reflect upon our team's experience on business decision making and my personal experience with one of the clients. So my name is Mickey, as Jazdeep mentioned. I do an MBA student with a focus in business analytics and minor in marketing. So when we started our journey, we were not clear that how many companies we were dealing with, and it started increasing. We had 8 in the first round, then it went on to 20, 25. So there were a lot of business analysis which we had to do. It was not about one particular team, like we are doing business analysis for marketing or financial or operations. It was a 360-degree approach. So it was cross-functional analysis, what we performed for every client we had, and then we had to deliver them the feedback where they're lagging, what efforts they need to make more in a particular direction. So we collaborated with the client team to decide on what will be the deliverables, what would be the area of focus. Some of the teams, like some of the clients we were working with, we only had verbal consulting sessions because we felt that what they are trying to do is way ahead of their schedule. So some of the companies were still not clear about their product positioning or other marketing piece, and some of the companies were not yet finalized their competitors. So we took a step back and then had verbal consulting sessions as well as brainstorming sessions with them to promote effective decision making. We had to decide like when, if, how to engage with those clients. We remember like in the last week we had tornado, so there was power cut for most of the clients as well as for us. So we did stretch on that and then took it to another weeks to finish whatever we left. It also involved some of the brainstorming sessions as per the client schedule. So we had weekly or sometimes bi-weekly meetings planned with them to decide on the strategies and then move forward with the decision making. All in all, it was deciding the right industry, right competitors, then right 4 piece of marketing, and right strategy for the business to proceed. One of the clients which I would like to mention is Blue Line. We started working on with this company, and the problem statement what we received said that the company is in security management or software management. So when I say the term security management, it's not clear exactly what kind of security management, whether it is in person, whether it is online, or whether it is software breach or whatnot. So we scheduled a call with the client. I and Achit were there on the call, and we tried to understand more about their business, their competitors, and their products. We also had 2 sessions for having a hands-on experience on their product. So after understanding the business and doing our secondary market research on online sources and Yukon library sources, we found that the industry was incident and emergency management. So it was no more a software industry or security management industry. It was incident and emergency management. Now moving forward with that and doing a secondary market research to get some data on hand, perform the analysis, and give them a good strategy. So the competitors shifted. The company was targeting big giants like IBM or Honeywell, which are there in this kind of business. Instead of that, we focused on those which are small and medium enterprises. And then we worked on the company's current database of customers and found that there would be different competitors who are working on a median range. Deciding on the price analysis, competitor analysis, after that, the product which would they be delivering to educational sectors or different sectors which are there in company's business, and moving on with the right strategy to have a median price so that they could cover the low pricing markets as well as high pricing markets. So that's how the right industry, competitors, right OPs, and right strategy did help the company to decide on a strategy and then move forward with their sales. I'll pass on to Achut to add more to these businesses and making.
Thanks, Mickey. Hi, I'm Achyut, and I'm from the Business Analytics department. I would like to talk about 2 clients where we have majorly influenced the clients in their business decision making. One of the clients is in very early stage ideation of their business, and is working on converting the idea into a company right now. And the client was working on applying for a grant and also had plans on investing his own money into the venture and get started. The client also had a strong background in the relevant engineering discipline and had done a lot of background work in the last couple of years required for pursuing this idea as a company. We as a Verge team got involved this summer, and we had engaged the client in a few discussions to get information required to evaluate the idea and compute the financials. We wanted to identify how much capital would be required and when the business could break even or if the business is economically viable. And it turned out that we still needed some critical information for us to compute the estimated costs and revenue. And with the support of Verge consultants, our client had actually decided to wait on the decision of investing in this business yet and evaluate further. So yeah, we feel proud that we as a Verge team had created an impact on the client and helped them make the right decision. The other client that I would talk about is a subscription-based business model. And they were looking majorly to expand or grow their business. So they were looking to invest their funds into marketing and identifying new members. But as we spoke to them further and understood their business, we identified that the client probably needs to focus right now on fixing their retention before investing in acquisition and growth. We had also suggested on working on improving the value they generated out of each of the member, which is customer lifetime value, and also creating new revenue streams, which at the end of our project, which something that they had taken positively. So simple as it may sound, working with clients who believe that they know their business better than others, and rightly so, and convincing them to change their business strategies is a difficult job. And we are very glad that as a Verge team, we have been successful at doing this. Thank you.
I'm Sai. I'm from the Business Analytics program as well. So when I did apply for the Verge program, I was hoping that I would be working on business analytics, as in business and analytics problems. And I'm glad that I made the cut because I did get to work on a lot of projects that involved using analytics to make better business decisions. So analytics was one area where I think it spanned across all areas. We would use analytics for marketing. We would use analytics for creating better financial models. And so not only did I get to work on what I learned as part of my analytics program, but Verge was like the area where I got to work with MBA folks. It's the first time I created a go-to-market strategy. I had never done that before. So I think that was something new that I learned, apart from the many other MBA-ish things that I did in the program. But I think I also got the opportunity to apply analytics to further enhance it. So that was one really good area for a few clients. I got a chance to apply search engine optimization and marketing. You know, I got to analyze their customer behavior and, you know, how their customers were engaging on their website. So if I could, get out numbers and help make these decisions better, that was something that was really satisfying for me. And a number of clients also had business problems that demanded, machine learning models, which was a surprise to me as well, because when you think, small businesses, you do not think a lot of data. But looking at a few clients, I did get the opportunity to perform customer segmentation exercises, and I got to look at their customer textual data, and we could come up with models that help them understand what matters more to their customers, what their customers were talking about, and what sentiment was associated with whatever information they were inputting on the website. So I think the most important thing for me with Verge was that I had the flexibility to use whatever analytical tool that I wanted to solve a business problem, and that I think was really great. And it was kind of a really introspective and enriching experience working with MBA pro students and then working with real-time clients across CT. As an international student, it was the first US-based experience for me. So it was great working with Verge. I think Jingden will take it next.
Sorry, I'm muted. Thank you, Casey. Hi, this is Jingdan. I'm a full MBA student focused on business analytics and digital marketing. In this summer, what I did in the program was about marketing research and go-to-market strategy development. Marketing is a very broad topic. It involves a lot of information. When we look back to the projects, almost every project needs marketing strategies to help grow their businesses, no matter it is a biotech company or a fashion company. Before, I do not have any marketing experience because my background is engineering. So it's really exciting that I practiced what I learned from the class in the real business world. How did we do in the program in the marketing domain? First, we will do market research to have an overview of the industry and the market. As many cohorts have discussed, we have not so much knowledge in certain industries, so we need to do a lot of research to understand this industry and the market. And in between, we need to communicate with clients to understand their business model and value proposition. This step is very important. During the communication, you can actually understand their business model and the value proposition to help you to develop a marketing strategy. The second, we will dig deep to find more related information about the target market. Here, we will collect data and analyze it to bridge the ideas and the market. At last, we need a little bit creativity to develop corresponding go-to-market strategy based on the analysis. For example, I did a project with fashion company. Before that, I have no idea about fashion. So I did a lot of broad research to learn about the industry. Through the communication, we found that the founder is quite clear about her business and the target customer, but she is not sure what the target customer wants. So we dig deep to learn about the target customer behavior, including preference, income, shopping habits, and so on. At last, we found that this targeted customer value friendship and care about sustainability. So we customized a pre-launch strategy for her. As a result, she is super happy. This is my experience. I will hand over to Shita to add more content about marketing research. Thank you.
Thank you, Jingdan. So before I start talking about marketing, let me tell you that I'm an MBA student and my concentrations are business analytics and finance. So I have no background in marketing. And in the beginning, I was more willing to take projects other than marketing. But as Jingdan mentioned, a lot of projects in Verge 2020 were associated with marketing. So I ended up having a lot of projects. And then I realized that how much research goes into developing marketing strategies. So we had to analyze, we had to find the data, we had to analyze it. We used Google Analytics, we ran through the financial numbers, and we then developed those strategies. So let's look at a few of the examples of what we actually did. Please change the slide. Thank you. So the most common thing that we did for a lot of companies was to create go-to marketing strategies. So for a particular company, there was this company which was in beauty sector, and so we suggested them to move from subscription model to an e-commerce model. We looked at their cost, we looked what they were offering, we looked at their competition, what the competition was offering, and then we realized that if they continued with their subscription model, they could not match the value the competition was offering at the same cost. So e-commerce was a better option for them. For another company, we did market and segment analysis. So this particular company was in education sector, and they were offering a lot of products to different different customer segments. And then we looked at different customer segments and the products, and then we realized that one particular product was way more profitable than the other ones, and that was not very much visible. So we restructured their website, and this was the first project we picked up. So in a month, the client told us that her sales doubled. So which was very amazing to see. Like, we could see the reflection of the work we did in a month. And so one more thing that we found, which was very common in all the projects, were these were small businesses, and the team were usually like a single person handling the whole company. So automation was a key in marketing. So we also suggested tools which would send automated emails to the potential customers or the customers. So there are a lot of examples I can tell you about, but respecting the time limit, I would invite Raghav to discuss about the leadership skills that we gained in this process.
Thank you, Shraddha. Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Raghav. I too am a second-year MBA student. So my colleagues have already mentioned about the hard skills that we got to work with, that we got to learn more about. I wanted to talk more about some intangible, some support skills that were needed to make sure that we got the other work done. So Verge is quite different than other internship programs in that you get a lot more ownership, and you are kind of responsible of firstly building your own structure of work and then adapting to it. So that was definitely a key takeaway for me, because 8 of us never worked together, completely remote environment. It was a new environment for all of us, a new hurdle. And there were a lot of things which we realized in the first week that could go wrong. So we had to sit down and figure out, how do we make this a success? So for example, managing my time. And I think I speak this for everyone else here as well. Like, I've been in a really stressful work environment before, but never did I face a situation like this where my calendar completely dictated what I would be doing today. And what we did was we kind of synchronized our calendar in such a way that everyone knew what the other person is up to. So in order to book a meeting with the client, with the team itself, it was really accessible. Also, it kind of ensured that we were doing the right thing at the right time together. So that's definitely something that I'm going to keep with myself, going forward in my professional journey. I'm just a better time manager now because of Verge. Also managing expectations. So not everyone has consulting experience, and with the COVID situation, communication was already it wasn't that accessible. So we kind of ensured that we have a structure in place of when the team talks within ourselves, when we talk to our mentors, and when we talk to our clients. And this kind of really helped us figure out, keep everyone on the same page. So whatever the client wanted, we kind of knew when to say no and when to say yes, how to prioritize things. And I think all of that organizational and communication skills have benefited all of us really well. Thirdly, I would also like to mention about the teams. Managing teams in this environment where everyone's new to each other, working for the first time, like I said before, but half of us are BAPM students, half of us are MBA students. And then even with MBA and BAPM side by side, everyone has different skill sets. So I kind of realized later that I was in 8 teams, but I kind of realized later that in some teams I was a hunter, and in some teams I was a gatherer. In some teams, every one of us faced this situation where they had to take ownership and they had to drive a project, and sometimes they had to be on the other side trying to get the grunt work done. So just seeing how I was placed in these different dynamics kind of made me realize more about myself and where I perform better and what I can add to a particular environment. Also, I want to talk about our outcome. What we eventually ended up doing was we started thinking of Verge as a small company, because we had 25 clients. We wanted to do justice to all of them. And we wanted to have like this consistent format of our deliverables, consistent format of our communication. We started out by setting these company norms that, okay, this is how we do things. And in that regard, Verge was a really entrepreneurial experience in some way. And lastly, like Jazz mentioned, we did meet once, and I think having setting out time to do some fun, so having meetings with no agenda or just meeting for lunch, was really essential in helping all of us come together, build that trust, build that friendship. Because honestly speaking, Verge was stressful, but because you had these kind of people around you who you could speak to really freely, I think that really helped us a lot. And just talking about these things, there are definitely problems, but we were able to find solutions for them. And that kind of brings me to the next slide, which is our mentors. So we had, Jazz, could you just go to the next slide? So we had Jen from CCEI, we had Greg and Denise from CDSDBC, and I can't emphasize enough how valuable they had been all through the summer. We were really surprised how engaged they were with us at all times. We had weekly meetings with Jennifer. We always fell back upon the CDA SBDC advisors. Whenever we were in doubt, we didn't know what to tell the client or whether we were having a problem with a particular skill. And it was really interesting to see that they were with us in like more than just like mentors. They were making sure that we were doing our bit of learning and our bit of fun. So they definitely added a lot to the whole Verge experience. Could you go to the next slide, Jazz? So in the end, I would just say that if I'm being really honest, when I started my MBA first year, Verge wasn't my first priority. But today I can say that not only did it give me much more than I expected, it was also exactly what I wanted. And like the funny thing about that is that I live with two of my roommates who got internships in really big companies, and more like often I found them kind of more interested in the work that I was doing rather than their own work. So that was really interesting. So I would urge any first year students present here to send any of us an email if you want to. We would love to talk more about Verge, share our experience. Also, applications are now open. You can visit the website. You should contact Jen so that you can kind of understand how Verge can benefit you, what you can possibly add to Verge. And yeah, saying that, I would conclude it. We had a great experience. I don't know if we have time for Q&A, but if there's any questions, we would love to take it. Otherwise, back to Jen.
Yeah, so I think we can turn it over to questions if anyone in the audience wants to ask anything regarding anything they outlined today, or maybe specific questions about their experience in the program.
I think I'd like to follow up on what Raghav said about the stress, and I think everyone would agree it was almost a little scary how much the companies would listen to us, and then we would almost look at each other after a meeting and say, oh my gosh, we don't even know like what we're doing. We have to do a lot more research. So I think a lot of the stress we put on ourselves because we wanted to do right by these companies. Like we would actually engage in healthy, disagreements at our Monday, Thursday team meetings or internal team meetings about the right way to go and give each other honest feedback because we realized these companies were very small and this was everything to these people. So I was a little awed by the amount of responsibility we were given. So I think the stress that I hope that everyone kind of agrees, the stress was sort of self-induced because we just didn't want to let the companies down. We didn't want to let, pass on any bad information or pass on, information that was just sort of flip and didn't have enough research or backing behind it.
Does anyone have any questions or thoughts?
I have a question, Jen.
Yeah.
For those of you who were not marketing experienced or marketing majors, I think Ashita and and Jingdan come to mind. Maybe there were others. Did you come to the realization that marketing is the most important business function there is?
Yeah.
I'm kidding.
So exactly. So in my mind, I think when I was not working, when I never worked in marketing, me, marketing was more related to sales. But then I realized that no, marketing is building strategy. And if you can't sell something, there's no point. In the end, a business wants to make a profit, and that will be done when they provide the customer what they want, and that is all marketing.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I totally agree, because during the conversation with the founders of the startups, they may have an idea like what they want to do, but they are not sure about the market. So the market research and will help to help them to be clear, like what market they should go in the ambiguous environment. And also marketing like give their direction, how to develop the next strategy. It's very important.
Mm-hmm. Very good. I have a question for anyone. What one or maybe two traits would you say you realized or noticed that were dominant for the clients you worked with, the owners you worked with, or the contacts you worked with at your client companies? What stands out in your mind of their work traits or the way they thought or acted? Anyone want to comment on that?
I can tell one. So most of my clients, I felt, were very proactive. If we would ask them to do something, they'll be done by it. They'll do it in like a day, or they'll be back for the feedback. And that was very infectious, I would say, because when they were working so hard, that would motivate us also to work that much harder for them.
Yeah, I would also add that the clients were really like open to listening to our suggestions. Like sometimes we started off conversations by like putting it out that we will be acting like a devil's advocate today, and we'll just be kind of questioning everything out there. And they were like really receptive of any kind of critique we had. They were really listening, like open to more suggestions. So that was kind of surprising, because I have some consulting experience in the past, and that's usually not the case. But here, like we had, like they gave us good ownership, and I guess that's the stress Jazz was talking about, because they were kind of trusting us so much. Like we had to kind of step up and make them make them feel that they're in good hands.
Mm-hmm.
I think a lot of the companies were very passionate about their business, and sometimes that led them to sort of misunderstand what their product really was, or what their market really was, or how the financials were really kind of working, because they had some expertise, and they had a love for it, they had a drive, but they're also very small sometimes, 1 to 4 people, so they can't have the wide experience necessary to cover all the frames of business. But definitely a lot of real high energy, a lot of passion, and I agree with Ishta, like the companies that kind of pushed us, we pushed them, and they gained a lot, we moved a lot faster. Some companies required more reach outs, multiple efforts, but that's kind of the way it goes. But it didn't mean that they weren't necessarily passionate about it. It means that they usually got tracked into something that was part of their business, like the research or development or grant writing and things like that. So we also got to see how complex what we could call a small business can really, really be, even at its earliest stages.
Mm-hmm. Excellent. Great insight. Thank you.
Does anyone else have any questions?
Can everyone hear me?
Yeah.
So aside from, I guess, the importance of marketing that you guys talked about, what's maybe one preconceived notion you had working with companies like this that you ended up being surprised, or maybe what was something that you didn't expect to get out of it that you did?
So I guess when we got to know that these are the companies we would be working with, and a lot of them were early stage startups, one would assume that they would just be offloading all the grunt work to you. That they just think that, okay, and I have these additional resources, I'll just make them do like things like repetitive, redundant stuff. But what was surprising was they kind of made us part of the, like made us responsible for the strategy, which if you think about it is the topmost thing. And there was not even one moment or like one task that I did where I was like, this could have been done by someone else or I should not be doing it. So that was really surprising to me.
I think what was really surprising, and also I think speaks to what SBDC and CCEI do, is how badly they actually needed the advice. You know, I think how much an outside voice can really affect their thinking and their strategy. So there was one company that was very much on one aspect, and they basically changed their entire business model and revenue structure within 10 weeks. They radically transformed their thinking, because we had a conversation and saying, is this a hobby or a job? Because if it's a hobby, you're going to do fine, you know, but you've said you wanted this to be a full-time job, you're simply not going to have the revenue. And they said, okay, so what do we have to do? And they jumped right in. So I think it's telling me that no matter what I do moving forward, I need to make sure I always have that outside voice that may not have the experience that I have, and not discount that, but just comes in, fresh eyes, and says what they need to say, and you kind of take that feedback and apply it the best that you can. Jen, isn't there usually food at these things?
You know, I was just thinking that.
I remember getting a pretty good sandwich and salad last year.
So you guys didn't get the little drones I sent around to deliver meals to everybody? Because it's completely in our budget to do that.
Hi, Jen. I think there is a question from Nagin. I'm sorry, I may be pronounced wrong. The question is, what is the deadline for Verge Consultants application?
Yeah, that's a great question. So the applications are open and will continue to be available on our website through March 26th, I believe. And the process basically is the applications come in and we invite the top 20 or so into interview with us. And then usually we make decisions at some point in April, and the program will start hopefully this year in May. All right. Any last questions or anything before we wrap up? All right. So, and it looks like, you know, the Verge consultants are very willing to answer questions of students, to speak one-on-one maybe about your experiences, or if you have classmates and colleagues that might be interested, feel free to reach out to any of these students. They're sharing their email addresses. So please take advantage of that. But I do want to thank all 8 of you for everything that you've done this summer, and this reflection today was fantastic to see the way that you all worked through different challenges and the way that you're learning, both taking what you're learning in the classroom, applying it in real life scenarios, but also the way that you're learning and engaging from each other. And I think that is where the magic is happening in this program, because you're able to take experiences you have and share them, experiences from before your graduate program here at UConn, and share them with your colleagues and your classmates. So I have been so thrilled listening to all of the work that you've done over the summer, and hearing you work through each of the projects, and look forward to seeing what you do after this. I know some of you have kept in touch with the clients from this summer and continue to talk with them and work with them, which is fantastic. And we're always here at CCEI to support all of you in everything that you plan to do moving forward and getting yourselves ready for the next step in your career. So thank you all so much. I don't know if Joe or anyone else had any final words to contribute, or if we're good to go.
I would just say again, thank you so much. Have a great semester and year. I hope it works well, and keep us in mind, and let's stay in touch. We really do appreciate everything you've done, and you're a great resource for us, and you're a great reflection on UConn. So we appreciate it. Jen, thank you again, and your team. is excellent. And it's great to work with you.
Thank you. It's great to work with you as well. Charisse will yell at me if I don't do this, but she loves to do the group picture at the end for social media. So if people are on and can turn on your camera and you want to smile, if you don't feel the pressure, but we will be posting this. So I'll give everyone a second to load their cameras if they'd like. Everyone, fix the hair. No, I'm just kidding.
Yeah, I need more than a second to fix my hair. First I have to find it, but that's another
Oh
story.
my goodness gracious.
Oh my goodness.
All right. Charisse, are we ready? Do you want to do a countdown?
Yes. 3, 2, 1.
All right.
Got it. Thank you, guys.
All right.
Great.
Thank
Thanks,
you so
Charisse.
much. Have a great day.
Thank
Thanks.
you.
You too.
Thank
Thank you. Have a great guys.
Bye.
Bye.